What up, traders, and welcome to the live session here as we go ahead and take a look at the FOMC and the decision that's going to come down today. Keeping in mind that the Feds were going to keep the rates unchanged at 5.5%. Now, with the inflation being where it's at, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but we're going to go ahead and dive into the details. Now, like I always have, I have my good friend Nico here today. And he's going to be helping with the translations for today. Nico, how are you doing?
Hey, awesome, Gary. Bueno, bienvenidos a todos.
Fantastic. Well, Nico, good to have you here, my friend. And we're going to go ahead and dive into some trading this afternoon and see what the market's going to do and how the market's going to react. So, you ready for that?
I'm ready. Bueno, vamos, que hoy tenemos una gran sesión de la decisión de la tasa de interés de Estados Unidos y vamos a ver cómo el mercado reacciona.
All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and put up the chart right here. First, number one, let's go dive into what is expected out today.
Y bueno, primero vamos a ver qué tenemos esperado para hoy. Tenemos esperado que la tasa de interés se mantenga igual, pero con la inflación a como está, puede ser que las cosas cambien. Así que vamos a ver qué pasa.
All right, so 5.5% is what the forecast is. This is what they're expecting to keep the rates to a 5.5, so which means it's unchanged to the previous, right?
Así que bueno, tenemos un 5.5 como previo y se espera un 5.5. Se parece que se va a mantener, así que bueno, vamos a ver.
Now, last week we had CPI year-on-year come out, and that showed actually a 3.7%, so slightly up from what they forecast, but a lot higher than previous.
Y bueno, la semana pasada tuvimos el IPC que salió en 3.7, muchísimo más alto que el anterior, que fue 3.2, y un poquito más alto que de lo esperado, que era 3.6.
Which means, traders, that, if we look at the other central banks over the last week, we've noticed the other central banks are actually raising the interest rate. It happened with the Eurozone. They raised their rates 25 basis points.
Y bueno, si vemos los otros bancos centrales han estado subiendo sus tasas de interés y si vemos el euro subió a 4.5.
Then, as we go into this week, we had the CPI numbers coming out for the Canadians. That was also an increase of, you look at the year on year, an increase of a couple of 0.2%.
Y bueno, si vemos el IPC de Canadá, también tuvo un incremento.
So there's definitely, and we're looking at CPI coming out for the UK. The UK showed a 6.7% inflation number. That is lower than the previous.
Y en el Reino Unido, en el caso del Reino Unido, el IPC salió en 6.7, un poquito más bajo que el anterior, que fue 6.8.
Does that change the mind of the official bank rate coming out in the UK on Thursday? Because they're looking to raise the rates 25%, 25 basis point. Are they going to stay on track? Question.
Y eso cambiará la decisión que tomará el Banco Central de Reino Unido, donde pensaban subir las tasas de interés a un 5.5, pero bajando la inflación, pues, ¿será que se mantiene o no? Eso es una pregunta.
And you get the bank of, or at least the Swiss National Bank. Swiss National Bank is starting to raise their rates 25 basis point coming up on Thursday as well.
Y también tenemos el Banco Suizo pensando en subir la tasa de interés para este jueves.
So we're starting to see, since the inflation numbers came out last week for the US, we're starting to see a trend of central banks starting to indicate that they're going to go ahead and raise the interest rate. Now, could that be to catch up with the US?
Y bueno, desde que salió la semana pasada el IPC de inflación de Estados Unidos, vemos una tendencia de los bancos centrales queriendo subir sus tasas de interés y tal vez eso puede ser que quieran mantenerse pegadito a Estados Unidos.
You know what I say? I say screw the central bank.
Y bueno, yo digo que I don't know if I can say that word in Spanish. But
okay, let's put it differently. Let's say, I'm going to say, forget about the central bank.
Olvidémonos de los bancos centrales.
Okay, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set my focus in on the technicals, and then whatever the central bank does, I'm going to still focus and see if the market stays between my support and resistance levels based on technical setups.
Y bueno, vamos a ver realmente que es el análisis técnico y cómo se está comportando técnicamente el mercado.
All right, so here we have the dollar index, and if we look at the dollar index, we're definitely at a level of resistance and expecting dollar to continue to fall.
Y bueno, si vemos el índice del dólar, tenemos una gran resistencia para el dólar y esperamos que siga cayendo.
Now, with the dollar expected to fall, that would mean that the central banks would not increase the interest rate.
Y bueno, en teoría, si el dólar va a seguir cayendo, eso significaría que es probable que la tasa de interés no se mantenga subiendo.
Because what we've seen in the past is when central banks raise interest rates, that's normally because the inflation numbers are high, and that's how they control inflation, by raising interest rate. Now, if the interest rate is showing that they're gonna hike the interest rate, then that would mean that the inflation numbers has also increased, and that's the reason why they're increasing the interest rate. Does it make sense, Nico?
Ya. Bueno, entonces, normalmente cuando se sube la tasa de interés es porque la inflación también está subiendo. Entonces, si estamos esperando que se empiecen a subir las tasas de interés es porque la inflación se ha mantenido subiendo.
So this is the dollar index expecting a down. So let's go to a pair like US dollar CAD. All right.
Y bueno, vamos a un par como el dólar con el canadiense.
Now, US dollar CAD is being bearish, but what is due is a correction move. So, which means that we could see, even though we're expecting the dollar to fall in the midterm, we may be expecting a little bit of a retracement move in the dollar.
Y bueno, si vemos el USD CAD ha estado bajando, pero eso es un movimiento correctivo. Aunque a mediano plazo podemos seguir esperando a que baje, pues podemos ver un retroceso.
So I'm not going to be surprised if I see the dollar against the Canadian dollar rally up in today's news. But I don't think it's going to sustain itself, because I think the dollar is going to continue to fall back down to at least 3,300.
Ahora, no me sorprendería que con la noticia el USD CAD empiece a subir, pero sí va a que vuelva a bajar hasta por lo menos el 1.3300.
All right, so we've got about 7 minutes left, and so let's jump into another pair like the Euro US dollar right here. And let's see how the Euro US dollar is set up technically.
Bueno, ya quedan solo 7 minutos, así que vamos a ver el euro dólar, a ver cómo se ve técnicamente.
Well, as you look over here on the daily time frame, we notice that we have this nice big bearish crown setting up right here. But price is starting to work its way up. So which means that, traders, is if we trade back above that 770 level, we're going higher up towards that high and that level there at 110, or at least 110.10.
Y bueno, con el euro dólar tenemos una gran corona bajista, pero si vemos el precio subir por encima del 1.0770, podríamos estar esperando a que últimos altos y podríamos esperar hasta que llegue al 1.1010 aproximadamente.
Now, during these news announcements, the market can be very, very volatile, which means it can be really choppy, which means that we may not even get a directional bias in the few hours that the news announcement gets released in.
Ahora, con estas noticias, normalmente el mercado se pone muy volátil, entonces puede andar muy indeciso y realmente no poder sacar una tendencia hacia algún movimiento, hacia algún lado. Así que hay que esperarse como unas horas para ver realmente hacia dónde se dirige el mercado.
So let me also bring in another sort of indication that we may get some dollar strength, is because, and again, it's just maybe over the next 24 hours, we may get some dollar strength if they keep the rates unchanged. But again, I don't think it's going to hold for too long. The other signal is the dollar index.
Ahora, vamos a ver un poco algunos síntomas donde podemos tener el dólar fuerte por las próximas 24 horas, pero la verdad no espero que se mantenga fuerte, solo va a ser por unas 24 horas. Y el otro síntoma es el índice del dólar, que lo tenemos en una resistencia.
So I said dollar index, but what I meant is the Dow Jones.
Perdón, me equivoqué, no es el índice del dólar, sino el Dow Jones.
So the Dow Jones gives us an indication whether we're in a risk on, risk off trade environment.
Así que el Dow Jones lo que nos da es un reflejo de si estamos en un ambiente de riesgo encendido o apagado.
So a risk on trading environment would mean that we're expecting the dollar in a risk on trading environment. We're expecting the dollar to sell off, which means that we're expecting the Dow Jones to rally.
O sea que si tenemos un riesgo encendido, si estamos en un ambiente de riesgo encendido, lo que esperamos es que el dólar caiga y que el Dow Jones suba.
So here we go. Dow Jones opened up today positive. Market rallied up, and we did see a downside move in the dollar. So which means Dow goes long, dollar goes down.
Y hoy tenemos el Dow Jones subiendo, lo que significa que el Dow Jones sube y el dólar baja, y hoy bajó el dólar.
But the thing is this, what goes up must come down, right? And so we had a gap between the open price of today and the closing price of yesterday, which means that we could see the Dow moving slightly bearish in the next 24 hours, which means that the dollar is going to gain some ground over the next 24 hours.
Y bueno, todo lo que sube tiene que bajar y hay un gap, un hueco entre la apertura de hoy y el cierre de ayer, que lo que más probable que pase con el Dow Jones es que haga un movimiento bajista hacia ese hueco o ese hueco que dejó en el mercado y por lo tanto tengamos un dólar ganando fuerza en las próximas horas.
All right, guys. Now we've got less than 2 minutes, we've got just about 2 minutes left. And what I would like to do is we have a sponsor that sponsors our videos. I'm going to go ahead and share that video right now. We'll be back right after this.
Tenemos 2 minutos.
All right, you can just tell them about our sponsor there. Sorry, I cut you off there, buddy.
Don't worry. No, les decía que tenemos un video de uno de nuestros patrocinadores que es un broker.
All right, yeah. So we are sponsored by 8Cap with these videos, and we want to show the appreciation. Thank you, 8Cap. If you're looking for a broker, check out 8Cap Brokers. They are a good broker out in Australia, and we've been working with them, and they're super cool. So check them out.
Y bueno, simplemente quiero decirles que quiero mostrarle un poco de cariño a nuestro patrocinador, 8Cap, que es un broker de Australia, que es bastante bueno. Si están buscando un broker, pues ahí pueden buscar la información.
All right, traders. Well, now we got about 1 minute left. Let's go ahead and take a look at the calendar. Now, I could wait for the calendar to go ahead and update. We've got about 40 seconds left. I can wait for that update to pop. It's probably going to take probably another 10 seconds or 10, 15 seconds to go ahead and populate here. The expected change is unchanged, right? So no change is expected.
Y bueno, ya falta menos de un minuto. Seguimos esperando a que no se haya un cambio en la tasa de interés. Y bueno, vamos a esperar los últimos segundos.
All right, we got 10. All right, I'm going to count it down. 9, 8, 7. It sounds like the countdown for New Year.
Yeah, exactly. 4, 4, 3, 2, 1.
There we go. And it is out. Pending numbers. Let's take a look at how the market reacted. And it looks like we got a little stronger dollar. Look at that. Stronger dollar. Ooh. Hang on. It's very, very volatile. Let's go to a 15-minute time frame right here. You can see it a lot better.
Bueno, tenemos una fortaleza en el dólar y vamos a ver los 15 minutos para verlo un poco mejor.
Yep, so dollar definitely moved over here. We've got a stronger dollar. And I don't even know what the numbers is. I'm going to take a look in a minute.
Bueno, y ni siquiera sé el número, pero estoy viendo una fortaleza en el dólar.
All right, it's pushing high. Let's go take a look at the actual results. And it is kept the rates unchanged at 5.5%, which, by the way, is weird.
Y bueno, se mantuvo el estimado 5.5 y eso la verdad que es muy raro.
And I'll tell you why it is weird, because you would think, and I'm going to explain a few things right here, but you would think that if the central banks are seeing inflation increasing, then they would want to go ahead and continue to raise interest rates because they don't want inflation to start climbing too fast, right?
Y bueno, les voy a explicar un par de cositas por qué me parece tan raro. Y los bancos centrales están viendo la inflación subir, por lo tanto uno querría subir las tasas de interés para que la inflación no suba tan rápido.
All right. And so we actually jumped into, if you follow my trade ideas and you notice since yesterday, we've been buying US dollar CAD because we got out of a sell on US dollar CAD and we've been buying. And the reason for that is because if they keep the rates unchanged, it's going to be a short-term bullish move. I don't think it's going to stay there for too long, though.
Y bueno, para los que siguen mis ideas de trading, hemos estado comprando el dólar con el canadiense y si tenemos una fortaleza en el dólar, pues ahí podemos tener una subida.
Now, break even on that trade is at 34.34, and we're currently at 34.31. So we're showing a little bit of action here. Remember, anytime the news comes out, the market's going to be a little more volatile. The spreads are going to be wider. So we might have to take a little bit of extra profit on this trade just to be able to cash out more.
Y bueno, nuestro punto de equilibrio es 34.34, estamos en 34.33, estamos súper cerca, pero cuando hay todas estas noticias y esta volatilidad, los spreads se hacen un poquito más amplios, entonces tal vez tengamos que agarrar un poco más de ganancia para poder cubrir ese spread.
All right. So we just actually, if you follow my trade ideas, we just closed out a trade out on the Aussie CAD. The Aussie CAD went bearish on us. Let's take a look right here.
Y si siguen mis ideas, acabamos de cerrar el australiano con el canadiense. Vamos a verlo por acá.
Now, we spoke about it in one of our live sessions, and we did say that with the news coming up, we'll have an indirect effect on the New Zealand CAD and Aussie CAD. And we said that the Aussie CAD sell was actually a hedge against our buy on the New Zealand CAD.
Y bueno, si estuvieron en una de mis sesiones, hoy en día estuvimos hablando de que el australiano y el neozelandés se van a mover también con la noticia y que el australiano con el canadiense, la venta era una contrarrestra contra las compras en el neozelandés.
Now, I do like the way the Canadian Swiss is gone ahead and moved. Normally, we'd move the same way that the dollar's moving, but we've got a nice little boost in the Canadian Swiss. Take a look.
Y bueno, me está gustando el movimiento en el canadiense con el franco suizo. Normalmente el movimiento es igual, pero está haciendo al revés. Así que.
Now, if we go back to, let's take a look over here on the daily time frame. We can see that it's pushing up and staying above that 66.70 level right here, which is pretty good.
Y si vemos aquí marcado el 66.69, el precio se está manteniendo por encima, lo cual es bastante bueno.
All right, and we were just about to go ahead and close out on the US dollar CAD. We're looking for about a little bit more than a 7 pip gross pips on that. That gives us about a 20 pip grab on that as well.
Y bueno, estamos a punto de cerrar el dólar con el canadiense. Está súper cerquita y faltan un par de pips para poder sacar nuestros 20.
Now, here is the New Zealand CAD. Again, even though we're getting this pullback right now, I still don't believe that the dollar rally we're going to see is going to stay high for too long. I think we're going to start seeing a turnaround. So by the time we close out our buy position on the US dollar CAD, we will be starting to look at possible sell-offs if the momentum slows down and we start seeing some resistance holding.
Y bueno, con el neozelandés, con el canadiense, estamos teniendo un retroceso, pero como les menciono, esa fortaleza en el dólar, la verdad que no la espero por bastante tiempo. Así que las compras que tenemos en el dólar con el canadiense, cuando las cerremos, si veo que el momentum empieza a bajar, lo que voy a buscar es vender.
Now, the US dollar, the euro US dollar actually dropped further than what we expected. And so what I want to look over here is I see a wolf pattern developing right about here.
Y bueno, con el euro, con el dólar, la verdad que vemos un retroceso mucho mayor de lo que yo esperaba y lo que podemos ver es un patrón de lobo.
And for those that don't know, wolf patterns are very similar to falling wedges or rising wedges. And so this is what we're seeing at the moment right now developing.
Y bueno, para los que no están muy familiarizados con el patrón del lobo, es básicamente algo parecido como un canal bajista, como una bandera bajista.
And so based on the setup right here, even though the euro has dipped slightly based on the news today, I don't think it's going to stay down for too long. I think it's going to continue to rally, and we're going to see the market chasing after that 922, 944 level right here at the top.
Y bueno, aunque tenemos este retroceso en el euro dólar, la verdad que espero que el mercado siga subiendo y llegar al 1.0852, 1.0922.
So yeah, we see 1, 2, 3. Hang on, I just said it wrong right here. So this is 5 right here. Here's 4 up here. Here's 3. Here's 2, and here's 1. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where we should be buying the euro US dollar, and we're looking for price to go ahead and target at least this level right here at 771.
Y bueno, aquí tenemos el punto 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. En el 5 es donde debemos de estar comprando. Y lo que esperamos es por lo menos llegar al 1, que es el 1.0770.
So what I would do if I was not in the market right now, I would be going down to my lower time frame. And I will be looking for an opportunity to buy long on this.
Y si yo no estuviera dentro del mercado en estos momentos, lo que revisaría es una temporalidad más baja y buscaría hacer compras en estos momentos.
And so this right here could just be a market reaction. We know at 2:30 today, we're going to have the press conference coming out. So what I would be doing like on this right here is I would be looking at this and saying, hey, price is at a support level right here. If it breaks through, we'll have to figure out what it's going to do. But right here, I would go ahead and say, I would want to get in back on this. I would enter the market, go ahead and enter multiple positions. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to enter multiple position, space it out a little bit, buy here, and let's chase after 100 pips on this right here. I might change this, but I'm going to go with 100 pips on this trade, and I'm going to show you where I want to go ahead and look to take profits. I'm going to go ahead and execute here at this level, at support right here. I'm going to enter with multiple positions, and we're going to look for about 100 pips. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that after Nico.
Y bueno, aquí lo que les veo es básicamente la reacción del mercado. Esta vela bajista es la reacción del mercado. Recuerden que a las 2:30 tenemos la conferencia de prensa, pero aquí estamos en un soporte y lo que hago es entrar al mercado, crear una matriz y buscar 100 pips en compra.
So, all right, so I'm entering here. Now, there's a couple of things that we have to pay attention to, right? If price does break below here, then what I've got to look for is the market really reversing? And if it does, then as the market comes back up here and enters on 1, 2 positions, I might go ahead and take profit right here on my second position and then look to reverse it.
Ahora, si el mercado rompe ese soporte, habría que ver cómo reacciona. Pero si rompe ese soporte y cambia la estructura hacia una estructura bajista, lo que haríamos con las entradas múltiples es seguir comprando para que cuando haga la corrección, salir en nuestra ganancia y listo.
But we're going to have to wait and see what the market does right here. At the moment right now, it looks like it's pushing here. We have to see. I would want to see if the daily time frame, this is so important right here, how the daily time frame closes out. To define whether or not the market's actually indeed holding at support or are we going to trade back below it.
Y bueno, hay que ver cómo reacciona el mercado, pero de verdad que una de las cosas súper importantes es cómo cierra la vela diaria. Si la vela diaria respeta en el cierre ese soporte, lo que significa es que realmente pues ese soporte lo está aguantando.
So right now, the level we want to see price close above is at 689.
Y bueno, el precio que queremos que cierre en el mercado por encima es el 1.0669, you said?
Yes, 689.
Sí, el 1.0670, 69, básicamente.
So it's 1.0689. I always say the last three.
Yeah, I said.
Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a look and see, all right, if price is going to go and chase after that high, this is actually a 260 pip target.
Así que si vamos por este alto que está por acá, que es el 1.0920, estamos buscando más de 200 pips.
So what we could do is we can actually change our target here to 260 pips. Now, granted, if we change it to 260 pips right here, it doesn't mean we have to wait for it to get to 260 pips. We can make a decision well before that if we want to go ahead and take profit. So if we don't see it trading above, let's say, that 1.0689, then we will we'll simply go ahead and make a decision to get out on a recovery.
Así que bueno, si vamos por ese alto que está allá, son 260 pips, podría cambiar mi matriz para ir por una ganancia de 260, pero si la vela diaria no respeta el soporte y no cierra por encima del 1.0689, básicamente lo que podríamos hacer es cambiar la ganancia o la esperada ganancia por simplemente sacar, digamos que la recuperación cuando el mercado se recupere y sacar nuestra ganancia un poco más pequeña.
So I think the news out now is just noise, and I think the market's still going to continue with the current trend and the current setup. So therefore, I'm still expecting dollar weakness, maybe short-term strength in the dollar, which we've just seen, and we may still see some strength in the dollar over the next few hours before the market starts settling down, digest the information, and then start hitting bearish on the dollar again.
Así que bueno, ahorita lo que realmente tenemos es básicamente puro ruido y lo que estamos viendo es el mercado moviéndose a través de la noticia. Así que va a haber que esperar un par de horas para que el mercado se establezca, digiera la noticia y podemos tener una fuerza en el dólar, una alza en el dólar y luego ya tener el movimiento bajista otra vez de nuevo en el dólar.
I think what's going to be important here is what the press conference, what comes out in the press conference, number one. Number two, how the daily candle closed out today.
Y bueno, tenemos dos cosas a tomar en cuenta. La primera es la conferencia de prensa, a ver qué dicen realmente. Y número dos, cómo cierra la vela diaria.
So, to sum up the session today and sum up the news, it looks like the central banks are really in a tough spot, and it's because they cannot raise the interest rate too much because it's causing some stress on the banking sector. And we've known that some of the banks have already closed up shop because they've made the mistake of buying treasury bonds at a 3% return over the next 20 years. Well, no, not quite that, but it's that crazy. And so what's happening is the banking sector is under pressure if the central banks keep raising rates, and we could have more banks folding, going bankrupt, if the central banks continue to raise interest rates.
Así que bueno, realmente la Reserva Federal está en un punto bastante crítico porque no pueden seguir subiendo las tasas de interés a lo loco porque eso crea muchísima presión en el sector bancario porque ya hay bancos que están quebrando literalmente por estar sacando bonos del tesoro a unas tasas súper altas a mucho tiempo y han cometido ese error y no han podido aguantarlo y han estado. Así que si vemos la Reserva Federal que sigue subiendo sus tasas de interés, pues eso va a crear demasiada presión en los bancos y puede haber más bancos quebrar.
All right, let's take a look at the pound at the moment right now. So we had the same scenario with the pound. We saw dollar strength, pound dipped against the dollar.
Y vamos a ver la libra con el dólar, donde tenemos básicamente un movimiento parecido, donde el dólar está ganando fuerza.
But everything comes back down, traders, everything comes back down to how is the market technically set up.
Y todo vuelve a cómo el mercado está estructurado técnicamente.
So if we look over here, we have a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what are we expecting when price completes wave 5? We're expecting the market to move up to wave 4. So no matter what happens today, eventually price will go ahead and move out of this oversold condition and start heading north. We're expecting pound to rally against the dollar due to dollar weakness.
Y bueno, tenemos el movimiento 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 y cuando tenemos completo el movimiento 5, lo que hace el mercado o lo que tiende el mercado es a ir hacia el movimiento 4. Así que no importa lo que pase hoy, lo que estamos esperando es una alza en la libra con el dólar, básicamente derivado a la debilidad del dólar y también tenemos sobrevendido el dólar con la libra.
And gold, how's this doing? What's this doing to gold? Well, with dollar falling, gold should rally. Now, as you see right here, today we've been bullish on gold, and that's because of this anticipation that the dollar is actually going to weaken. In fact, I've looked across the board right now, and we're seeing dollar sentiment. If you're going to follow me in my Telegram channel, I'll actually post the new sentiment sort of direction at the end of the day. And dollar is looking like, for specifically US dollar CAD, sentiment is bearish. That doesn't mean we're not going to see some short-term rallies. It just means that dollar Canadian is bearish sentiment-wise.
Y bueno, también tenemos el oro por acá, que ha estado mostrando un alza debido al movimiento con el dólar. Y si ustedes ven mis ideas, que también se las pueden ver en el canal de Telegram, que tenemos la estrategia a base del sentimiento, vemos en el dólar con el canadiense que el sentimiento de la gente está en búsqueda de un movimiento bajista en el dólar con el canadiense.
So coming back to gold, I think gold is going to continue to climb. I think gold is already moved off these lows right here, and we're going to see gold continue to rally up. And if anything, we may even see gold pushing back up to 2,100.
Y bueno, con el movimiento del oro estamos esperando un movimiento alcista. Me parece que esos bajos ya pues van a quedar ahí, van a aguantar y podemos estar esperando hasta llegar a 2,100 con el oro.
And what's going to happen to Canadian dollar? Well, with the oil prices continue to push, we've seen oil prices pushing up to 90. We've getting a little bit of a pullback right here. So we may see some sort of recovery in oil. But it's not to say that this is going to be for too long either. Just like the dollar cannot stay strong for too long, oil prices cannot stay weak for too long. There's too many things that are pushing oil prices up. And unfortunately, this is also going to affect the inflationary rate. And that's why central banks are getting a little nervous about inflation, is because of oil back up.
Y bueno, con respecto al dólar canadiense, en este caso tenemos el petróleo, donde el petróleo ha estado recuperándose en su precio y tenemos al petróleo esperando un alza de precio también, que eso también va a causar mayor inflación desafortunadamente para las personas y pues eso va a poner nervioso a los bancos centrales también por el tema de las tasas de interés.
Well, traders, that pretty much wraps up the FOMC rate decision today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your time here. I did. Thank you, Nico.
Y bueno, con esto resumimos la sesión de hoy. Muchas gracias, Nico. Y bueno, gracias a todos.
All right, guys. Well, that's it from us. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you being here. I'll see you guys next time.
Y bueno, muchas gracias a todos por su tiempo. Nos vemos en la próxima. Les mando un fuerte abrazo. Cuídense mucho.